All right, let's talk to a real local legend from Athens, Alabama, Mr. Keith Dunnavant. Good to see you, Keith.
Good to see you.
Man, you are getting more famous each and every time I turn around. Books, movies now.
I can't keep a job, you know.
Yeah, well, I guess you got to work for yourself.
That's right. That's right.
3 days at Foster. This is your newest.
Yeah.
You got. I didn't realize it was already out on DVDs. How can people get it? We'll talk about this.
They can go to 3daysatfoster.com or go to Amazon.com, search for 3 Days at Foster. But, you know, we've got an even better option because we're going to be at Athens State on the 10th of December.
Yeah, Rick Mold just called me the other day, said, hey, when he going to talk about it, and I texted back. I said, Keith just contacted me. He's going to be in town for Thanksgiving, so we'll get him on the show. 3 days at Foster, and we'll backpedal a little bit here in a second. Foster Auditorium down at George Wallace did his famous stand in the thing.
Right.
That's what most people think about it.
That's right.
But you've added 2 other things to it.
That's exactly right. That's the first day. And there are 2 other days and a lot of other stuff. We kind of use Foster. We look at Foster as a symbol of change across 5 decades. But it's really about the pioneer athletes who broke down the barriers and really the power of Alabama football.
Now, did you attend the University of Alabama?
I did.
You are a history buff.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get interested that much in Alabama football?
Well, you know, I started covering Alabama Auburn
You were a kid.
When I was a kid. That's right, before I was supposed to have been able to. And so I went off and was a college football writer in New York and L.A. and other places. And when I started, you know, my own company, I just kind of naturally started doing historical things. And so that kind of one thing kind of led to another.
What is it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got the radio in here that I grew up watching, listening to Alabama games on. My parents both passed away, so I got it. And that's what we listened to all in the 60s. What is it about Alabama football that fascinates you so much?
Well, I guess the fact that I grew up in this state and I'm attuned to, you know, not only the history on the field, but how we all related to it. Because you look at Coach Bryant, for instance, you know, somebody asked me the other day, well, is Saban ever going to be Coach Bryant? Well, you know, Saban could win 10 more national championships, and that would be great. But he's never going to have the stature that Coach Bryant had because Coach Bryant gave us somebody to look up to when we desperately needed that. Well, Saban doesn't have to fill that role anymore. So from that standpoint, they're different.
Now, you also did the thing on the 3 ring, the missing championship we should have had.
Right.
When Notre Dame tied Michigan State 10-10,
Right.
played for the tie, leaving us out here.
Right.
Now, bottom line on that, did we not get the championship that year because of the way things were in the South?
Yeah, I think that was the deciding factor. I think there were a number of different things, but I think that was the most important thing because, you know, it was hard to compete with George Wallace,
right,
and in terms of the national perceptions of Alabama.
Did you ever have the privilege of interviewing Coach Bryant, or was that?
I did when I was 17. I actually got to Alabama kind of because of that.
Were you like Jamie, like this?
I was scared to death when I talked to him, man.
Intimidation.
It's a long, complicated story, but I'll tell you, I remember sinking into that couch, and I remember that feeling. So all the guys that I've written about through the years, I can relate to what it felt like.
Of all the Alabama people you've talked to, you probably talked to more, and there's the picture of me, a guy gave for my 60th birthday. They did a documentary, CBS did, on Bear Bryant by the goalpost. Just so happened, 1975, I'm at Channel 31.
That was him with all the hair.
Yeah, show the picture again. I look like
I look
like a 70s porn star, which I may have been. But, you know, there I am, long hair and mustache. And I was trying to grow a Fu Manchu like Joe Namath had, except mine would cut out about halfway down and start back. Of all the people you've interviewed at the University of Alabama, what's one of your favorite folks?
At the University of Alabama, well, you'd have to say Coach Bryant. You know, Coach Bryant at the top. But, you know, a lot of really interesting, you know, Ray Perkins. I worked for Ray Perkins in the athletic department when I was in school there. When he was
he as hard to get along with as everybody said he was?
A jerk. Everybody hated him. But the funny thing about it is I come back and write The Missing Ring, you know, 20-odd years later. And I got to know Ray on an entirely different level. And a fascinating guy, and you know, he's Mr. Personality now.
Yeah,
you know,
isn't it amazing when you get to know someone?
Oh, but he's got a young wife, doesn't he? Is that what keeps him percolating?
Young wife and a young child, and it changes everything. So there you go.
I always heard that Jackie Sherrill's done our show a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
here, so he was always a great one.
Jackie was just probably. I spent a lot of time with Jackie when I was a football writer, and probably the smartest football coach I ever. Because I mean, he could talk about history buff. He could talk.
He's got a great personality, too. It was a pleasure having him up here.
Yeah.
So, and is there any comparison between Coach Saban and Coach Bryant?
Well, yeah, there are. I mean, they both succeed, I think, for basically the same reasons. They're extremely detail-oriented. They have a great plan. They're very demanding. They believe in fundamentals, all the great things that most outstanding football coaches have. The difference is the aura. Saban, is not, some people would say he's intimidating, but anybody who would say that Saban is intimidating never spent any time around Coach Bryant. Coach Bryant just owned the room.
Yeah.
Saban does, but because of his success. And so, there are a lot of similarities, no doubt.
How much longer can success that Coach Saban's having at Alabama, how long can that go on?
As long as he keeps getting great players.
Do you think he's staying?
I think he is, yeah.
Alabama fans can believe when he says he's not leaving. Too old to leave.
I don't have any inside knowledge on that because I don't.
Yeah, you do. Come on,
listen, I'm way out of that stuff. I'm making films or writing books now, but it's I really think that he's way too smart to give up such a good thing. I mean, after all,
yeah, it's working so well.
I mean, he is set. All he has to do is keep on going. Now, he wouldn't leave for money. I mean, what's the difference between $5 and $7 million a year?
Well, a lot to me, but
a lot to me
to
too.
Him,
but
obviously, he won't spend what he has now.
Right. So I would say that the only reason a guy like that would go to a place like Texas or somewhere else is the challenge of it, and I think you'd be a fool to do that.
How big a game is Saturday's Iron Bowl?
I think it's huge. I don't know if it's. Maybe it's just, me looking back at being 7 years old, but I don't think it's ever going to be as big as 71 with Sullivan and Musso.
Yeah.
But that's just, my own particular bias.
Well, nobody thought Auburn would be in this position either.
Right, but that's it. It's in the top two or three. Yeah, Auburn's had an incredible year. Really has.
You going?
I'm not, no. I'm going to be back in Georgia watching it on TV and glad to be out of that.
What is your, all right, Alabama's giving up 91, 93 yards per game rushing. Auburn's gaining 320 yards per game rushing. 9 out of 10 times when that occurs, the defense wins.
Right.
What do you see about Saturday?
24-7 Alabama.
20. You don't think they'll score by 7?
See?
You my man, Keith.
I think it'll be close for a while, and I think that Alabama's defense will make the turnovers to bring it home. And AJ will be steady as always.
Heisman Trophy potential there. Big game on stage next week against Missouri or whoever we win.
Yeah, he's got to have a big game to be in that conversation.
With all your research and stuff you've done on football stuff, how big a deal is it to win 3 national championships consecutive?
It's huge. Never been done. Unless you count one thing with Minnesota back in the 30s.
Yeah.
But never been done in the modern era. Alabama should have done it in '66. And I, of course, have memories of the fact that they should have won in '77, which would have given them 3 in a row, in '77, '78,
We had Don Jacobs up here on the show, and he used to coach up at Elkmont. He's not a big Bama fan.
No, he's not.
Well, Jacobs probably got a little bit of grief after a certain
fumbling that ball to Mississippi State on the goal line.
First not to think about
it. He ain't too happy. He don't like to talk about football.
I bet he doesn't.
Yeah, he don't like to even talk about it. What's your next project, Keith?
We've got my next book is on Joe Montana, oddly enough. So,
What's he got to do with us in Alabama?
They don't have nothing to do with us. That's
He's
why.
taking a break.
You ever met Joe Namath?
Oh, yeah.
I saw Joe naked one day, interviewed him.
Dang, where was I?
He was my hero, man, growing up. He's my hero.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Old Joe.
Yeah.
Nobody like Joe.
Well, and that HBO special they did on him was fabulous.
Oh, it's great.
It was great.
And there's a friend of mine named Mark Kriegel who wrote a great book about him called Namath about 4 or 5 years ago.
I think I've got that.
I recommend it.
When I get a book, I usually read like the first paragraph, and that'll be it. You going to hang around for a little bit because we need to talk to you. We'll talk to Roy just a moment.
Sure.
He's Dunnavant up here 3 days at Foster. You can pick it up now.
That's
We'll
right.
just show it illegally here on
Pull
the
him
station.
up on his website.
What I always love to read on back says, you could be sentenced up to 20 years in prison and a $50,000 fine if you show
What
this
are you
video
in for?
illegally.
That's doubled in the state of Alabama.
Is it?
Yeah.
For you.
Wouldn't doubt it. You wouldn't turn me in, would you?
Oh.
We'll take a break. Be right back. Y'all hang on.